Hi, I'm Yoni from Holster Mountain Tours, and welcome to Pop Culture and the Parsha. This week, we're going to answer the question, what does Parshat Lech Lecha have to do with Star Wars? Well, let's dive right into the Parsha, and this is a meaty Parsha. There is a lot to talk about in this week's Parsha. You have God telling Avram to leave his house and go to Canaan. You have his entry into Canaan and finding there's a famine there. You have his descent down into Egypt and all of his interactions with Paro down in Egypt. You have his return to Canaan with Lot and his separation from Lot. You have the war between the 4 kings and the 5 kings and Avram's intervention in that war in order to save his nephew Lot. You have the Brit Ben Abitarim, the covenant between God and Avram that took place in this Parsha. You have Sarah giving Hagar to Avram as a wife and Hagar becoming pregnant, the conflict between Sarah and Hagar, the resolution and the birth of Yishmael, and then you find the Parsha finally ends with the circumcision of Avram and Yishmael. It is a jam-packed Parsha. So I want to talk about one thing in the Parsha. I want to talk about the beginning part of the Parsha and the name of the Parsha as well, which is Lech Lecha, God's command to Avram, go, leave your father's house to the land that I will show you. So what does that have to do with Star Wars? Well, the truth of the matter is it has to do with any story that involves what's known as the hero's journey. The hero's journey is a literary device that talks about everything that a hero does from the beginning of his story all the way through his adventures and then back to the end of his story again. And the first thing that a hero does on his journey is called a call to adventure. The call to adventure takes a lot of different forms. In Star Wars, it's when Obi-Wan asks Luke to return the droids to Princess Leia. In The Terminator, it's when Kyle Reese extends his hands to Sarah Connor and says, come with me if you want to live. In The Matrix, it's when Morpheus offers the 2 different pills to Neo. There's a lot of them that I have here. In The Lord of the Rings, it's when Gandalf asks Frodo to get the ring out of the Shire. In The Hunger Games, it's when Katniss says, I volunteer as tribute. But those are all movies that are based in fantasy and science fiction. But it's not only those kinds of stories that have a hero's call to action. For example, in To Kill a Mockingbird, when Atticus Finch agrees to represent Tom Robinson, that's his call to adventure. When Rocky is chosen by Apollo Creed to fight him in Rocky, that's Rocky's call to adventure. When Mikey finds the map in Goonies, that's the Goonies' call to adventure. So you have all of these different stories of heroes being called out to their adventure. And it's from that point on that the story really gets going. Before that, you have the time period in the hero's journey cycle that's known as the regular world or the real world. And that's the hero's regular life. But when the call to journey happens, that's when the story really starts. Now, we learned about Avram actually last week in Parshat Noach. At the end of Parshat Noach, it talks about how Terach took his entire family, including Avram, and they went to go from Ur Kasdim to live in Haran. And he's living in Haran. It's just a regular life in Haran. And now God comes and says, I want you to pick up and I want you to go to the land that I'm going to show you. And that is literally a call to action, a call to adventure. And that's Avram's call to adventure. And that's what this Parsha has in common with all of those other stories. That this is the beginning. This is the beginning of the hero's journey. It's the beginning of the cycle that's going to take us on an amazing adventure. In this case, it's the adventure of Am Yisrael. The amazing story that starts with Abraham and continues all throughout the entire Torah until we finally get to the shores of the Promised Land. It's an amazing, amazing story, and it all starts with 2 words, Lech Lecha, the call to adventure. So let me know in the comments if you think that this was a good comparison to something in pop culture. I know that this was a broad comparison. It wasn't compared to any one specific thing in pop culture. It was more of a broad idea. Let me know if you like that or if you want me to compare it to things that are more specific in the future. Otherwise, like and subscribe and share this video. Again, either literally share it by pressing share, or you can share it verbally so that people will have ideas on Shabbat. Share this at your Shabbat table. Let me know what other people might think. And until next week, Shabbat Shalom, everybody.